want to talk.
I wake up the next morning, phone rings, and it is my manager, my lawyer, my accountant, my agents, and they're simultaneously screaming at me on a conference call. And I'm like, what are you guys screaming about? He goes, what did you do last night? You beat some kid up. I was like, yeah, he threw a bottle at me. He goes, you can't do that. I said, why can't I do that? They said, because you have money. You will get sued. It's not like you're in a bar and you're just some struggling, starving artist. You are successful. You have a hit record. You have money. You will get sued, as Sebastian Bach well learned. Remember? Threw the bottle back in the audience. Oh, big mistake. I remember watching that on MTV and going, oh, dude, you don't throw the bottle back because there's no way you're going to hit the guy who threw it. Anyway, so he said, you can't do that anymore. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? They said, well, we're going to get you a bodyguard. My immediate response was, what? To protect them from me? Because basically the idea was to stop me from beating them up, I would have a bodyguard. And I remember they got me this big black bodybuilder bodyguard named Vic. Monster. And I remember we were in Australia. I was doing a personal appearance early on in with my bodyguard. And you can see Vic if you watch the extended footage of the Senate hearings. You can see when I'm walking in the back, there's camera footage. You can see a big black guy, like sort of like making room for me to come in, for entering. That's Vic. And so we are in Australia. I did an appearance, and we're leaving a limousine, and we stop at a light, and a car pulls up, and a bunch of drunk assholes in the car. And they're like, Twisted Sister sucks. Dee Snider sucks. At a stoplight, Vic jumps out of the car, opens up the car door, pulls the guy out of the car, bam, 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 drops him in the street, gets back in the car, and we drive off. And Vic turns to me and goes, how was that, boss? I said, well, it's kind of like watching somebody fuck your wife. It looks good, but it doesn't feel the same. That's how I kind of feel about porn and sports. I want to be a participant, not a voyeur. Now, but I do love championship. And I love championships, championship fights, championship, World Series. I think a lot of people, obviously there's a huge turnout for those things. Because of that, there's so much on the line. It's just cool to see those moments in life, to see when everything people have struggled for is in one moment in time, and this is their shot. There's something about that. But as a rule, I'm not a sports guy. This said, I'm from New York. I support New York teams. Now, this is upsetting to some people, and I don't understand the logic of it, particularly people from Boston. I'm talking to you right now, Boston. You're from Boston, and what teams do you like? Massachusetts. What teams do you like? Red Sox, right? Patriots, right? Celtics, right? Why? Because they're your teams, right? What would happen if you were from Massachusetts and you said you were a Yankee fan or a Mets fan or a Philly fan? Eagles. Pick a team. You'd be run out of town on a rail, right? Disloyal piece of shit. You're with your own, right? So why is it that you're so mystified when a guy from New York says he's a Yankee fan or a Met fan or a Jets fan or a Giant fan? What other fan are we supposed to be? And there are many people out there who get very upset when they see a New Yorker wearing a Yankee hat. Now, I get it. The Yankees are, one of those teams that historically has been reviled by other teams. But at least you should be able to appreciate it's your hometown. Born and raised in New York, man. I'm not disloyal. I'm for the home teams. And when the Mets, I used to be a Met fan, by the way. day one Met fan. I'm old. I lost interest in the Mets when the Mets won the first World Series and everybody became a Met fan. Younger people watching don't know, but when the Mets started out, they were hapless is the word. It was a joke. To be a Met fan, the stadium was empty, and Met fans were the laughing stock. But I stood by them. Suddenly, and we've seen this with rock bands, we've seen this with other teams, they started winning, and everybody was a Met fan. And at that point, it was like, you know what? They don't need me anymore. And, and I was a man without a team. So when did I become a Yankee fan? I became a Yankee fan. It was like 92. Yankees are losers, doing terrible. And my career is in a slump. Twisted Sister, hair metal is a bad word. Nobody's interested in my music. Nobody's interested in me. Nobody's interested in my former band. It was a dark time to be, 92 grunge comes in, 92, 93, 94, right? George Steinbrenner, the owner of the Yankees, decides to use "We're Not Going to Take It" as the Yankees' battle cry. Before anybody had thought to use "We're Not Going to Take It" as a rock and jock anthem, Steinbrenner starts playing it at every game. And they invite me in the darkest period of my life. And if those of you who are true fans of mine or whatever, I read my my autobiography, my memoirs, know that I was flat broke and, working a desk job for a couple $100 a week, answering phones, paying the bills. It was a dark time. I had lost all the money. Well, I didn't lose it. I knew where it was. It just wasn't mine anymore. So they start using this as playing "We're Not Going to Take It," and they invite me down to a game, the Yankees. So here I am. They are, and again, go back historically and look at the Yankees' career at that point. They are in the basement. And my career, I'm in the basement. And they're acknowledging me and treating me with respect the way I used to get treated. Oh, way I used to get treated. And say invite me down to a game. And so at that point, I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't have a team allegiance at this point. I hadn't had one in years. And, rule number one is 2 rules with Dee Snider. 2 rules. 1, you like me, I like you. Very simple. Rule number 2, you don't like me, we got a problem.